So I just got finished watching Charleston White's interview that he did on Say Cheese TV. And it had to have been one of the most dumbest, unintelligent, ill-informed, uneducated, ignorant opinions that I've ever heard in my life. Sean Cotton and Charleston White were having a discussion about relevancy. And I believe it stemmed from Lil Boosie, him going out and saying that Nas was irrelevant. Now, we need to really truly define what relevancy is. A few names had came up when they spoke about who was relevant in today's culture. And Charleston White, who a lot of times can have a very profound message. But in this case, Charleston White, you could just tell he wasn't knowledgeable. And he was just saying ignorant stuff about how people just not spinning the Nas music no more. You know, people ain't dying left and right listening to Nas music. I would have never in a million years thought that just because someone is dying left and right means that you're relevant. So Nas had a line in the recent song that he did with 21 Savage. I didn't particularly like the song, but it was a line that he had in there, and I'm just paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, you know, y'all could keep the relevancy. I'm legendary. That's all that matters. And as Sean Cotton mentioned, he made upwards of, if I'm not mistaken, upwards of like 40-something million, 50-something million or more with the company Ring. We have to redefine exactly what relevancy means. Just because kids dying left and right, it means that you're relevant. Because kids spin the block, it means that you're relevant. Someone else that they spoke of, which was comedian Dave Chappelle, and they debated whether Dave Chappelle was still culturally relevant. And Charleston White's response was, well, Dave Chappelle, even though Dave Chappelle has put out, specials that has, been very successful, he says that Dave Chappelle isn't relevant. Now, although I'm not the biggest Dave Chappelle fan, and I don't think that, Dave Chappelle is as funny as a Martin Lawrence. However, you can't deny that, he could drop anything right now and people will check for it. What exactly is being relevant with social media now? Everybody has a social media platform that they have access to and they're relevant to their base. Charleston White says that Dave Chappelle isn't relevant unless he's saying crazy, wild things, right? If he's not saying controversial things. And I said, how that saying go? Ain't that like the pot calling a kettle black? The nerve of you to say that Dave Chappelle is only relevant because he says some of the most craziest things out of his mouth. Charleston White wasn't as polarizing and controversial as he is. When nobody be talking about Charleston White, like I said, Charleston White says a lot of brilliant things at times, but at sometimes he could say some things that's just stupid. Another person that they spoke about was Britney Spears. And Sean Cotton hit Charleston White with a great counter. He said, we the only race that do that to our people, that sit around and have a simple-minded conversation of who's relevant and who's not relevant. And he brought up the name Britney Spears. And he said, Britney Spears ain't relevant no more. He said, to show you how relevant Britney Spears is and how much people check for Britney Spears, they gave her a show in Las Vegas. But that just goes to show you how ignorant Charleston White is to that subject, is because he don't know that Britney Spears, that Las Vegas show alone grossed over 100-something million. That's why it's important to do your research. Do you know that just last year in 2001, she was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world just last year? Last year alone. And Britney Spears hasn't put out an album since 2011. See, that's the difference between other races and other communities and why they treat each other the way they do and why they have respect for each other and why we don't. We beef amongst each other. We have hate for one another. White people just support each other. The Mexicans support each other. We the only ones that want to have, ignorant conversations like this and want to tear each other down. Dave Chappelle could drop a project right now and it's going to sell. And the one thing about Dave Chappelle, he knows his targeted audience. Most of Dave Chappelle's audience are white people, no different than Kevin Hart. But that's why they're so successful the way they are. And I don't fault them for targeting that audience. It's people that find them hilarious. So I don't know if Charleston White was playing dumb, but the facts are the facts. And the facts is, Britney Spears, she launched a perfume brand with Elizabeth Garden Inc. The sales exceeded 1.5 billion in 2012. 1.5 billion. I don't ever have to be relevant again. You think I care about being relevant? I don't want to be talked about. And that's what the message that Nas was trying to convey in that song with 21 Savage. Being relevant don't necessarily equate to money. One day I met Welvin. And for those of you who don't know who Welvin is the guy who's famous for saying, "These nuts, ha, got him." Welvin had clout at one point in time, right? So I met Welvin on Sunset Boulevard one day. And I asked him, could I take a picture with him? He was like, all right, it's going to cost you $5. So I guess him and his friends, they like to, take people money without taking a picture. So Welvin was like, nah, bro, don't do that. Don't do that, bro. So they was about to take the money and run off. But I told him, I was like, nah, bro. He said $5 for a picture. I said, all right, I give you 10. I give you $10. He took the picture with me. One day I walked into a hookah lounge. And when I walked in there, I seen Welvin again, and he remembered me from that day we took that picture. So they asked me to come over to their section. I had 2 jobs at the time, by the way. So they wanted to go to the strip club. I was like, nah, that's not my thing or whatever, woody woo, whatever. I literally witnessed this with my own eyes. I seen a female come in there with her boyfriend. Honest to God, right hand to God. She came in, she walked in with her boyfriend. She was so excited to see Welvin. She sat on this man's lap and kissed this man in front of her boyfriend. Now, y'all know how Welvin looked. She kissed this man in front of her boyfriend. Sat on his lap, all because he had clout. But I guarantee you that her boyfriend was probably more successful and had more money than Welvin. When we left out of that place, because I was staying at the hotel at the time, do you know that Welvin and his cousin asked me, they asked could they come stay at the hotel because they had nowhere else to go. They had nowhere to rest their head at night. But you had this female who sat on Welvin's laps, all because what she seen from off of TV, she kissed this man in the mouth in front of her boyfriend. All because he had fame. But that's why I say fame doesn't equate to money. A lot of these guys are just relevant for a year. Some people could just be relevant for a couple months. But what about the longevity of being relevant? So what exactly does relevance entail? Nas is just coming off a Grammy. There are artists who have been relevant for the last 5 or 6 years, even more, and still haven't won a Grammy. Nas is doing #1 albums. He's aging well with time. What does Nas have to get on a remix every month just to prove that he's relevant? Sometimes it's about quality over quantity. What does Dave Chappelle got to drop a project every single month just to prove that he's relevant?